Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again to review South Park, Season 25, Episode 4, Back to the Cold War. And obviously, I was extremely excited for this episode since it's a current events episode, and I knew that they were going to do something hilarious and something clever with it. It's not like with the American politics episodes where, they feel very one sided, they feel very slanted. This episode felt very funny and, like it was, just smartly written in general. And I loved it. I thought that this episode was perfect. This is an A plus episode for sure. It's an automatic classic because it's just so fitting and perfect the way that all the jokes hit. The entire story was good. You might as well have called this episode Banned in China because, spoiler alert, like fucking this whole episode is basically the South Park creators telling Putin that his dick doesn't work anymore, which which I thought was great. And I loved. I have never loved Mr. Mackey as much as I did in this episode. I never expected ever to like Mr. Mackey, but he was so funny in the way that he was nostalgic for the 80s, and that was such a great little clever story to do instead of just doing like a fear mongering episode or doing something like really, that they did something very smart and very clever. And something else that I liked, which I don't know if they did it because I said something with last episode, but at the beginning of the episode, they had a little title credits sequence where they said this episode stars Butters, uh, Mr. Mackey, Mr. Mackey, and blah 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 blah, and Putin. And so it was like they were telling you ahead of time who's going to actually be in the episode so that you wouldn't go, oh, I wish that person was there. Because honestly, if there wasn't that title sequence, I would have said in this review, oh, I kind of wish Cartman was there. I kind of wish Kyle. I kind of wish Kyle was there. I kind of wish. But since I saw that title sequence, I knew what to expect, and I actually appreciate the transparency and just saying like, yeah, this is just gonna star these characters. It's a story about these characters specifically, and sorry, and they're not gonna have any others be involved with the main story. I thought that was actually a great idea because then you can actually like people can watch each of these episodes and they can make a decision. Oh, I don't want to watch that episode, but I want to watch that episode. So I thought that was great. Butters was pretty good in the episode, and it was nice too to see Butters since last episode I complained there's hardly any Butters, even though the whole plot line said Cartman goes to Butters for help, and then he's not even in the fucking episode hardly at all. But he's in this episode, that's for damn sure. And he's always good, always good. He's never gonna. I think he's one of the few characters on the show who you could put him in every episode, he'll never wear out because he's so naive sometimes, but he's so funny, and then he can get really dark sometimes. Like he's a very three-dimensional person. There are certain characters on the show, they're very one dimensional. They'll always just be that person. They'll always just be that one layer, unless they're given more layers through good stories, like how Cartman, he's basically the star of the whole show. And of course, he's been given a lot. But yeah, I really like that with Butters and his little horse stuff as dressage. And yeah, so I really like this episode. It's perfect. and I highly recommend it. And I'll say that in the future, I can guarantee, in fact, I'll make a bet. I'll make a bet. I bet everyone that in 10 years, or like whenever the show ends, I can guarantee that at least 5 people on YouTube, including me, will have this episode in the top 10 South Park episodes, or that we'll have them in the top South Park episodes in general. I can guarantee you that. Because even though it is talking about quote unquote current events, because you can't really talk about current events unless you're actually there. Uh, that's another thing why I appreciated this episode, because they didn't just like with the Garrison Trump episodes, they did all these cringy stories where it was like, ugh, this is like a SNL skit, this is like a cringy thing. But with this one, it was like they did a story without like doing the real story. Like they didn't have some sort of a stupid invasion storyline where they're, I don't want to talk about that crap. Who cares? That's also the big message of this episode is who cares? Like, mind your own business and just grow up and just be a normal person. And don't pay attention to this bullshit fear mongering, and don't virtue signal over your little blue and yellow flag, and don't do that shit. It's fucking pathetic. And it's like the current trendy thing. And so I love the fact that this episode fought against that and said, we're doing something that we also did with the other big situation that happened in the past couple of years, the coughing situation. So this episode took a stance against both of those things being blown out of proportion, and told you, no, we need to move into the future. We don't need to go back to the past again. We don't need to go back to the 80s, to the 50s, blah, blah, blah. We need to go to the future with Doc Brown and Marty McFly. So, I love this episode. I highly recommend it. Go watch it right now. I can't wait to watch it next week. If there's a new episode next week, I'll definitely love to watch this right before I watch that one. And I really hope that we get more quote unquote Russian episodes that aren't like fully into the news, but are kind of using that as a way to tell funny and clever stories. And I love the way too, something I've complained about with some South Park episodes and specials is that sometimes they'll use the same joke over and over again. And an example is in that shitty vaccination special, they kept on using the joke of like the cool old people are going to get vaccines and they're having fun and they're partying and treating it like a club, and they did that joke over and over and over again. Well, with this episode, they had a joke where Butters' horse, Melancholy, he kept shitting all over the place when he's trying to do these competitions. But the trick is that each time that he came to this competition practice area, I don't know what you call these fucking things. I don't know about fucking horses and fucking dressages. Each time, the joke would progressively get better and better and better. First time, just shits all over. Okay, that's funny. Second time, he shits all over and then he gets a boner. Third time, he rapes another female horse. And then the fourth time, of course, you know what happens. So the joke, it didn't just stay the same. It built. It built on top of the... It was still the same joke, but it built on that joke in a smart and funny way that actually was, that was good. See, that's when I like a repeating joke, is when it's built on. When you build on that joke. It's the same thing with when you see comedy movie sequels. The sequels will take a joke from the first movie and they'll build on top of that joke. I could probably come up with a ton of examples right off the top of my head, but I don't really have time for that. So please like this video and comment. If you didn't like this episode, let me know why. Or if you did, tell me why, and tell me if I missed. Did I miss any reason to love this episode? Because I think I mentioned everything. Like, yeah, like there's literally no flaws I have with this episode. This is on par with Banned in China and post COVID. And then please subscribe if you'd like to see more South Park reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.